the Notre Dame Fighting Irish back in the news once again. And this is going to be a quick one right here, but they're seeking to triple their football rights fees. We talked about this in the past. Will Notre Dame be independent? Will they join a conference? Right now, they're making about low 20 millions for their television contract. The additional 10 million from the ACC for the other sports outside of football. Obviously now, with the big boy conferences making in the 70s to 90s, you have to be up there if you want to stay relevant, meaning they need to find a way to triple that number.
Mm-hmm.
The question becomes, Aaron, where do you think they find that? Do they find that by joining a conference, or does Notre Dame still, speaking of brand, do they still have enough power to where they could get NBC to pay them alone the $65 to $75 million that they're seeking?
Well, obviously, if you join a conference, you're going to get the money. I mean, that's the easy way. Just go join a conference and you're in. I don't think they will. I think, and I prefer this. If Notre Dame could stay independent, I'm all for it. I love the rivalries that they've been able to create. I do like the relationship with them in the ACC right now, but I think they could get close. At the end of the day, there's still going to be that gap. There's still going to be a gap between Notre Dame and the two most important conferences going forward in 2024, even now, which is the SEC and the Big Ten. So you will have a financial gap between those two, but I think the independence and what that gives your university, what that gives your fan base is enough to kind of look the other way. So I think if you get to, what I say a couple weeks ago, 75 mil is the goal.
Yeah.
So if they can get 60 to 65 from NBC, still get 10 from the ACC, I think they're in a good spot. I would think NBC would still want to deal with Notre Dame if they're only giving them $60 million a year, not only, but giving them $60 million a year, I think is enough for both sides to be happy to move forward after this initial deal is done.
Well, and we're seeing college viewership explode. You saw it in the NCAA tournament, especially on the women's side. In baseball, the College World Series just like doubled their viewership from last year. Brum, are you with us today? Are you live producing? I'm going to give you 5 seconds to respond.
I'm here. What's up, buddy?
Oh, my dog. Okay, so help me interpret this, because you're kind of our behind the scenes, understand the television business better, right? The wild card here is that remember, Swarbrick is out as Notre Dame AD, and they're bringing in Pete Bevacqua. I don't know if I'm saying that Bevacqua. I have no idea if I'm saying that correctly. What's interesting about Pete is he's the former NBC Sports chairman. So I would surmise, tell me if I'm off base here, that nobody would understand NBC's appetite for this contract better than Pete.
I would completely agree that the one thing about that world that is always the case is extremely small, and these sorts of things are done with, by friendships as much as anything. It's like any other sort of business deal. Relationships rule everything.
So, with that in mind, I kind of feel like this move's being made, and there's kind of already handshake agreements in place. They're like, no, things can always change. Guys come with better offers, and good negotiation dictates that the Irish should look to play NBC and conferences off one of another and see if they can up the value, whatever the case may be. But I feel like Pete,
a classic trial balloon. You float out there and find out how pissed your boosters are.
I see. Wait, but why would the boosters be getting upset about this story of them trying to triple their Oh, you're saying because floating the idea that they could join a conference.
Correct.
Yes.
Find out because there's obviously going to be two factions within Notre Dame. One saying we obviously have to, one we obviously don't, and you're floating it to see how pissed one side is about the potential joining. It's all about keeping your donors happy.
I kind of feel
I don't think the donors will be happy with the conference. I don't. Especially, I think there's also a sense within Notre Dame community right now of we love Marcus Freeman. We have a incredible opportunity to make the playoffs now with 12 teams going to be starting next year. Why have the stresses of being in a conference of playing the big boys when we don't have to? I mean, at the end of the day, that's like.
But they play a big boy schedule. They play the biggest boy schedule. Bro, look at Notre Dame's schedule.
I know, but I think they
Rich.
You can't tell me if they join the Big Ten and had to play Michigan and Ohio State and USC and all those other brands,
Well,
or obviously
hey,
the SEC.
they play Ohio State, USC, and Central
But
Michigan
that's
this
not
year.
consistent. That's this year. That's
Yeah, I
1
know.
year. That's
Also
1 year.
Clemson.
1 year. Well, Clemson's
Yeah.
part of the whole ACC thing with them, which is still not a consistent one either. So, like,
I
yeah,
don't
there's
know,
going to
man.
be years where they just schedule crazy, but I think that to me, their path is significantly easier being an independent than being a team that has to play in the Big Ten or the SEC.
Wilma
I mean, if you're the Big
Dickfit,
Ten, in the Big Ten, you're going to have to compete with 4 or 5 teams that are going to have, I would say, more talent than you. In the SEC, you have to compete with even more teams that have more talent than you. At least you do still have somewhat control of your schedule in order to help yourself get into the playoffs.
I mean, Ohio State, yes, more talent. USC, yes.
USC, more talent. Michigan,
Michigan,
more
no.
talent. Penn
No, I don't
State,
think so.
more talent.
I don't think so. I
Yes,
think
yes,
Notre Dame is right on
yes.
that Michigan and Penn State level. I think they're right there. Wilma Dickfit says Notre Dame should join the Big 12 so we can see the Catholic versus Mormon rivalry. No, that would be an awful idea. I think that Notre Dame should wait. If they can get the contract with NBC, stick there. Let the future take shape. Like, let's see if the actual 2 super conferences develops, and then you become the belle of the ball at that point. Then eventually everybody's going to want to add that brand. But maybe I'm wrong, right? Because like I can be very wrong at times. Like we yelled about 9-game schedule, and I don't care if ESPN's not willing to pay. Why didn't you do this? And then we had Scott Woodward in studio today, and he basically told us in as many words like, if ESPN, if Mickey Mouse wants a 9th game, they got to pay for that inventory. And so, that makes all sense. So maybe the actual business read is to join here. I don't know, but I would stay independent if you can get the money.